We're coming off one of the busiest weeks on Capitol Hill for credit unions since the GAC. We had more than 150 Hike the Hill participants in town last week from 8 states. We had 4 removing barriers bills considered in the House Financial Services Committee on issues ranging from the structure of the CFPB to NCUA's risk-based capital proposal to the Department of Labor's fiduciary rule. So a lot took place last week, and we're continuing that momentum this week. The House is coming back in session tomorrow on Tuesday, and they'll consider a number of bills under suspension of the rules. But what we're paying very close attention to in the House is consideration of legislation that's been introduced by Representatives French Hill from Arkansas and Brad Sherman from California. This legislation would delay the enforcement and also the legal liability associated with the TILA-RESPA integrated disclosure requirements. The new TILA-RESPA rules went into effect this past Saturday. What we've been concerned with is that credit unions are having to make a clean break from the old rules to the new rules. And even the most well-intentioned financial institution could make a mistake. So what we've asked Congress to do is to delay the enforcement and, importantly, the legal liability associated with that. Now, the CFPB and NCUA and the other banking regulators have said that they're going to have some tolerance during a reasonable transition period, but it's really important that we have this safe harbor so that credit unions can get up to speed and can do this right for their members. So that's why this bill in the House is so important. It'll be considered on Wednesday. In the Senate, we're closely following the consideration of the National Defense Authorization Act. It may seem odd that credit unions are concerned with a military bill, but we've seen in the last several years this legislation used as something of an incubator for financial services policy. So we'll be paying very close attention to the amendments that are offered to this bill throughout the process. As usual, we're following a number of committee meetings on both sides of the Capitol. It's a little bit of a light week this week, but there are 2 that I'll point out. On Wednesday, the House Small Business Committee is going to hold a hearing on EMV deployment and its impact on small businesses. So credit unions have been issuing new debit and credit cards to their members with chips on it. Merchants have been gearing up to receive those. The legal liability associated with transactions flipped on October 1st. So this will be the first hearing since the liability shifted where Congress will take a look at that. So we're following that hearing. The other hearing that we're paying close attention to on Thursday in the House Financial Services Committee is on housing policy, and particularly the impact that the Department of Housing and Urban Development has had on housing policy over its 50-year history. So there's a lot going on the Hill for credit unions, but there's also a lot going on at NCUA, and there's a couple of things we're paying close attention to. First, we noticed on Friday, NCUA sent a letter to credit unions on its fixed asset rule. And importantly, they clarified that federal credit unions no longer have to comply with the 5% fixed asset limit. This is something that CUNA has been advocating for several years. There was a final rule that was put out earlier this year. We were looking for some additional guidance, and this letter to credit unions provided that. So we really appreciate the action on the part of NCUA. The other thing that we're watching for in the agency is its agenda for the October board meeting. So the NCUA board will meet later this month. They'll put out their agenda, though, on Thursday, and there's a number of things that we think could be on that agenda. It's been several months since the comment period closed on the risk-based capital rule, so it's quite possible that could be on the agenda. We also know that NCUA has done a lot of work over the summer at CUNA's urging on field of membership. So it's within the realm of possibility that we could see a field of membership proposal on this agenda. We're not going to know for certain until Thursday, but these are a couple of things that we're keeping a close eye on as we lead up to the days where the agenda is going to be released. If they're not on this month's agenda, we'll expect them to be on an agenda in the near future.